I sat in the back of the crowded auditorium, my fingers tracing the rim of a paper coffee cup. I wasn't supposed to be here today. It wasn't my scene anymore, not after everything that had happened. Yet, when I heard about the reunion, my curiosity was piqued. It wasn't nostalgia that brought me here, it was something darker. A gnawing feeling that the past deserved a proper confrontation, an ending that wasn't written for me, but by me. My high school years weren't particularly memorable in a good way. Sure, I had friends, but the friends I had were like cardboard cutouts of real people with relationships as hollow as their moral values. They were the cool kids, good looks, good grades, and the best parties. I was on the periphery of their world, the geek who could fix computers, the one who could tweak grades in the school database, or edit a video to make them look good. I wasn't part of their inner circle, not really, just a pawn they used and discarded. And they did discard me in a way I would never forget. The past was a heavy burden that often visited me in my darkest moments. When I was 17, they dug up my life, my family, and they found things I had tried so hard to bury. They shared it all, my mother's struggle with addiction, my father's absence, the eviction notices, the way I'd worn secondhand clothes until the seams gave way. They crafted my misery into entertainment, and for them, it was just a big joke, an unforgettable performance to end the school year. For me, it was the end of whatever thin hope I had of belonging. But today, this reunion was my chance to rewrite the narrative. The lights dimmed, and a spotlight shone on the stage where they gathered. The old clique, Josh, handsome and broad-shouldered, with a smile that once seemed invincible. Melanie, always in designer clothes, who spoke with honeyed words that could turn to venom in an instant. Derek, the charming clown who could turn anyone's pain into a punchline. The microphone crackled, and they began their speeches, all polished charm and nostalgia. They laughed, reminiscing about old pranks and parties, glossing over the ugly truths. My chest tightened. These people were professionals at hiding the ugliness, skilled at tucking away the parts of themselves that would make them vulnerable, while they fed off the weaknesses of others. I knew their skeletons, though. I had spent years finding them. I took a deep breath, pushed my chair back, and made my way to the side of the stage. My heart pounded, and I could hear the blood rushing in my ears, but I had waited too long for this to let fear get in my way. They thought I was broken back then, a forgotten ghost of their past. But today, I wasn't just a ghost. I was the reckoning. "Excuse me, everyone," I said, stepping into the light, my voice amplified by the mic I'd taken from the stand. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Josh's smile faltered, Melanie's eyes widened, and Derek's grin tightened, as if trying to figure out if this was part of the evening's planned entertainment. "Hi, everyone. Some of you may remember me. Some of you may not. That's okay. I'm not here to relive high school glories. I'm here to talk about the truth." My voice steadied, and I looked straight at them, the golden trio who had once torn me apart for their amusement. "You see, our friends here have some pretty interesting stories of their own," I continued. I could see Josh shift uneasily, his eyes darting toward the exits. "I think it's only fair that we share them, just like they shared mine." I pulled out my phone, connecting it to the projector screen behind me. The first image appeared, a high-definition photograph of Josh sitting at a poker table, surrounded by stacks of cash. A few confused murmurs swept the audience. "Josh here, our high school golden boy, has a bit of a gambling problem," I said, my voice growing colder. "He's been using company money to feed his addiction. I've got bank records, video proof, and a few other interesting details about how he's kept it hidden from his wife." Josh stepped forward, trying to grab the microphone, but I stepped back, ignoring him as the next image appeared. Melanie sitting beside a man that wasn't her husband, her face turned toward his as they kissed. The crowd gasped, and I could hear Melanie sputter, her perfectly controlled demeanor cracking. She had always been the one who pretended to have it all, the perfect family, the perfect career, but secrets had a way of surfacing, especially when someone was digging for them. "Melanie likes to play pretend," I said softly, watching her face pale. "But we all wear masks, don't we? Some are just better at hiding the cracks." The last slide came up, a series of text messages between Derek and a local drug dealer. Derek had always been the party guy, the one who knew how to get anything to keep the night going. But now, his jovial expression had turned into something darker, panic setting in as the audience saw the messages for themselves. evidence of his ongoing dealings, his reckless behavior. "You all thought you could humiliate me, use my pain as your entertainment," I said, my voice echoing in the now silent auditorium. "But you never stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, your skeletons would someday come to light." They stood there, stunned, as I dropped the mic onto the stage floor, the sound reverberating through the room. I turned and walked away, feeling the weight of years lift from my shoulders. I wasn't broken anymore. I was free. But it wasn't over yet. This was just the beginning. The aftermath of the reunion was both satisfying and strange. I had expected backlash, anger, maybe even legal trouble, but instead, what I got was silence. Deafening, eerie silence. I watched from afar as their lives crumbled. Josh lost his job, Melanie's marriage went up in flames, and Derek's suppliers turned on him once his secret was out. It was almost too easy, the way they fell apart. Weeks passed and the satisfaction began to wane. I had spent so much time planning this, so many years meticulously gathering information, waiting for the perfect moment. Now that it had happened, I realized I hadn't thought about what came next. I had become so consumed with revenge that I had forgotten about the aftermath, about what kind of person I wanted to be after all this. One day, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address, just my name, written in neat block letters. I opened it, my stomach tightening. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a printed message that read, "You're not the only one who knows how to dig." I stared at the paper, my mind racing. I had thought I was careful. I had used burner phones, anonymous accounts, everything I could think of to protect myself. But someone had found me. Someone new. A chill ran down my spine, and for the first time since the reunion, I felt fear. I had poked the hornet's nest, and now the swarm was coming for me. The next few days were a blur of paranoia. I changed my locks, wiped my computer, and started looking over my shoulder everywhere I went. I knew I had made enemies, but I hadn't anticipated how deeply they would strike back. Then, one evening, as I was coming home from work, I found my apartment door ajar. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear movement inside. Quietly, I stepped back, pulling out my phone to call the police. But before I could dial, a hand clamped down over my mouth, and I was yanked backward. I struggled, my vision blurring as panic set in, but a voice whispered in my ear. A voice I recognized. "You really thought you'd get away with it, didn't you?" It was Josh. He pushed me into the apartment, slamming the door behind him. Derek and Melanie were there too, their faces twisted with anger and something else, a cold, calculated intent. I backed away, my hands trembling as I tried to think, to come up with some way out of this. "You think you can just ruin our lives and walk away?" Melanie spat, her eyes glinting with fury. "You think we wouldn't find out who you really are?" Josh stepped closer, his expression dark. "You took everything from us. Now it's your turn." I swallowed hard, my mind racing. I had always imagined this moment, but I had never truly believed it would come. I had thought they were too self-absorbed, too consumed with their own lives to ever come after me. But I had underestimated them, just as they had once underestimated me. "You're just as pathetic as you always were," Derek sneered, stepping forward. "You think you're better than us now? You're nothing." And that's when it hit me. They were scared. Underneath all that anger, all that bravado, they were terrified. They had built their entire lives on lies, on the idea that they were untouchable, and I had shattered that illusion. They were here now because they had nothing left. No jobs, no families, no respect. They were desperate. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to meet their gaze. "You're right," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I'm not better than you. I never was. But at least I'm not afraid of the truth." For a moment, there was silence, the air thick with tension. Then, something shifted in Josh's eyes, a flicker of uncertainty. He looked at Melanie, then at Derek, and I could see it. The doubt, the fear that maybe, just maybe, they had already lost. "Get out," I said, my voice low but firm. "You want to hurt me? Go ahead, but it won't change anything. It won't fix your lives. It won't make you whole again." They hesitated, the three of them exchanging glances. I could see the cracks in their resolve, the way their bravado faltered. Slowly, Josh stepped back, his jaw clenched. Melanie looked at me, her eyes filled with a mix of hatred and something else, something almost like regret. Derek was the last to move, his expression dark as he turned and followed the others out the door. I stood there, my entire body trembling as the door closed behind them. I waited, listening to their footsteps fade away, and then finally, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I sank to the floor, my heart pounding, tears streaming down my face. I had won, but it didn't feel like a victory. It felt hollow, empty, like I had traded one kind of pain for another. I had wanted revenge, and I had gotten it, but at what cost? In the days that followed, I tried to piece my life back together. The fear lingered, the sense that they might come back, that they might try again. But slowly, I began to realize that they were just as broken as I was, maybe even more so. They had spent their entire lives hiding from the truth, and now they had nothing left to hide behind. As for me, I knew I had a long way to go. I had spent so much time focused on them, on what they had done to me, that I had forgotten how to live for myself. But now, for the first time in years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could start over. I could find a way to move forward, to let go of the past and build something new. I wasn't the person I had been in high school. I wasn't the scared, broken kid they had tried to destroy. I was stronger now, not because of what I had done to them, but because I had faced them, faced the truth, and come out the other side. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.